When I write, I am not simply putting words on a page. I am opening a door, and on the other side of that door, there is you, the reader. My writing is a two-way communication between the author and the person holding the book. I may begin the conversation with a word, a story, a question, a color, a memory, or an invitation. But I don't get to decide where the conversation ends. You do. Because somewhere between the words on the page and the thoughts in your heart, something begins to happen. You begin to remember. You begin to question. You begin to see yourself differently. And sometimes you simply become still. That is intentional. I leave space in my books because I believe space is part of the story. There may be an empty page waiting for your thoughts, a question waiting for your answer, a reflection waiting for your memory. Or perhaps there is nothing at all that you need to write. Perhaps you simply need to sit, to breathe, to allow the words to settle. Because not every healing moment requires an answer. Sometimes healing begins with a pause. I believe a book should not only give you something to read, it should give you something to feel, something to consider, something to remember, something to carry with you after you close the cover. My books are invitations to self-discovery. They invite you to look inward without judgment, to explore your experiences, to honor your story, to recognize your strength, and perhaps to discover a part of yourself that has been waiting patiently to be heard. This is why I write about healing and wellness. This is why I write about nature. This is why color, breath, reflection, and personal experience are woven throughout my work. Because I know that sometimes a person doesn't need another person telling them who they should be. Sometimes they need a safe place to discover it for themselves. And that is the space I want my writing to create. A safe space for reflection. A space where you can ask, what am I feeling? What have I survived? What have I learned? What do I need now? What am I ready to release? And perhaps the most important question, who am I becoming? My goal is not for you to finish one of my books and simply say, that was a good book. I want you to close the book and say, something happened inside of me. Maybe you felt empowered. Maybe you felt motivated. Maybe you felt inspired. Maybe you remembered something beautiful. Maybe you recognized something painful. Maybe you laughed. Maybe you cried. Maybe you became quiet. All of those responses are part of the conversation because your story meets my story. And somewhere between the two, a new story can begin. That is the beauty of writing. The author puts words on the page, the reader brings them to life. You bring your experiences, you bring your memories, you bring your questions, you bring your imagination, you bring your heart. And suddenly, the book is no longer just mine. It becomes a part of your journey. So, when you read my work, I don't want you to rush. Take your time. Read a page. Put the book down. Write something. Close your eyes. Look outside. Listen to the birds. Feel the sunlight. Notice the water. Or simply breathe. Because sometimes the most important sentence in a book is the one that inspires you to become quiet enough to hear yourself. This is the heart of my writing. Healing through word, color, movement, and breath. The word opens the conversation. The color awakens something within. The movement keeps you moving. And the breath gives you space to receive it. So before we close this moment together, I want to invite you to experience what I mean. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. A breath between the words. I want you to just sit comfortably and let your shoulders soften. If you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes and take a slow breath in through your nose and gently breathe it out. Again, breathe in and imagine that you are making room for something new. Now breathe out and imagine releasing something you no longer need to carry. One more time, breathe in. I am here. Breathe out. I am enough. And one final breath. Breathe in slowly. I am open to what comes next. And breathe out. I give myself permission to grow. Now open your eyes when you are ready. And remember, you are not simply reading a book. You are entering a conversation. A conversation with words, with your memories, with your possibilities, and ultimately with yourself. I am Lady Ra, and whenever you open one of my books, I hope you find more than words. I hope you find a moment of reflection, a breath of possibility, and a reminder of the strength already living within you.